I decided to do flip-throughs of my MRDRfly sketchbooks that I started 10 years ago. I have 40 completed at this point. Back in 2015, I discovered these hardcover blank books that Barnes & Noble was selling, and I immediately bought up as many as I could find, and then I ordered online. So I have well over 100 books. I probably have around 70 remaining. They're just good quality paper. There's 14 pages inside. I don't really do anything with the covers except label them. But it's been my go-to sketchbook for the past decade. And as you'll see, sketchbook is just a term I use for lack of a better one. My days of doing scribbles and actual sketchbook type work is long in the past. I did that as a teenager into my college years, and it's not really something I do anymore. When I have a book to work in, I tend to do what looks very close to what my finished work looks like. So you'll see what I mean. This one, like I said, I started doing this 2015. I usually label the covers, and you can see there's a lot of DNA and other stuff on these covers because I didn't wrap them. And then I always mark the spine with when I started and when I ended, number of the book. And then, whoops, I'll provide my information inside as well. So here we go. Start with heads. I draw a lot of heads. My pens of choice are the disposable technical pens. I was a rapidograph guy up until the early 2000s when I discovered microns. I was doing a lot of conventions back then when I was doing work at Image Comics, and other artists were using microns. So although at that point I had been drawing using rapidographs for probably 25 years since I was a kid, I saw that the microns were easier to handle, and you know, I didn't have to deal with cleaning a pen or worrying about the fiber getting bent. If you bent the tip, you just buy another one. And although my style is very ink intensive, I go through technical pens a lot faster than the average artist. The reality is I'd much rather have that immediacy than having to deal with the technology of a technical pen, you know, a drafting tool like a rapidograph. You can also see I added in some grays. Not much of a color, you know, I don't use a lot of color in my work, but I will drop in grays and reds, sometimes using markers. More recently, I've been using gouache and acrylic inks. That's another thing I just started using. So here's some heads that I drew. Pretty basic cartoony stuff. And you'll notice for the first few years, I really would just use the one side. Probably because I realized, even though the paper quality is pretty good, it does bleed through. So I stuck to the standard of only doing 14 pages. Later on, I started using both sides, so you could see there's 28 pages as opposed to 14. Some more head stuff. Looks like I used probably some brush and ink to fill in the black spots. It could very well be brush marker. I'm not someone who will sit there and use a technical pen to fill in blacks. So there's definitely some other, maybe a little hard to see, but you can see there's a little difference in coloration in the black line. Not a lot of intellectual properties in my books, but once in a while you'll see I did some obvious ones. Maybe some not so obvious, but these are pretty obvious. Again, using gray marker, alcohol marker, and looks like I was using some kind of brush marker to fill in the blacks. Self-portrait. That is not something I do a lot of, but here we go. Not sure about the lady. And some bald guy. I draw a lot of bald guys. Some explosive abdomen content. I really don't know what I was going for here. The background is most definitely brush and ink to fill in that kind of opaque color. Gray marker again. More heads. The bloody nose, I do use a lot of photo reference just to kick off what I'm working on. I think that was actually a lady with a broken nose, and I kind of copied it for this bald guy. Tomorrow Kings, I'm a huge fan of Ashley Wood's work, especially well, you know, his line work is incredible. I love his comics, but his toy lines are amazing. And obviously this piece was an homage to what he does with vinyl toys. Adding in some red. Sticking with the gray. I guess like some sort of ninja. I'm actually a big fan of the Naruto manga. Not so much the anime. I think that's, you know, it has that Saturday morning kind of quickness to the animation style. Not really interesting to me. But the manga, especially the second part when Naruto returns as a teenager back to the ninja squad, I think that's some of the best manga out there. So I'm assuming this was some kind of homage to the ninja gear. Yeah, Mad Max Fury Road, Waterboys. When that movie came out in 2015, I saw it at least 5 times in the theater. And then a ridiculous amount of times once it was available on Blu-ray and streaming. Easily one of the best action movies ever produced. The first 20 minutes or so, just non-stop, incredible action. Great movie. Another Batman. Yeah, I tend to draw ugly Batman. Not much of a heroic artist, quite honestly. But, you know, has been stated so many times before by other people, Batman, you could produce him in so many different ways, and he's still, at core, is Batman, a recognizable character. Not sure what this is. Some use of red and gray. Kind of like that. And Fury Road, what's her name? Furiosa. Certainly not the lovely Charlize Theron This almost looks like Annie Lennox, but yeah, just I was totally into that movie and still am. I think it's fantastic. But did this piece, and yep, I think that's it. Let's see. Oh no, there's more. One more page of heads. That's it. That's what it looks like when you use alcohol markers on certain papers. Bleeds right through. But anyway, that's the first one. I have, at this point, 40 of these completed. I have other books that I completed throughout the last 10 years as well. I'll do videos of those as we go along, and I find them in my studio. Right now I have access to all 40 of my sketchbooks like this one, so I'll be shooting more videos right away. So thanks for watching, and I hope you click and subscribe. I'm going to try to grow this channel. Going to be doing a lot of art videos, showcasing what I'm working on. You can see how I work on comics and other illustration work. Going to be doing flip-throughs through my library of books and things that are coming out now that I'm interested in. Be doing profiles of artists. Some I don't know personally, and some I do know personally. And you know, it's going to be a good mix of content of what inspires me and what I'm actually working on. So hopefully that inspires you artists out there, and you comic enthusiasts will hopefully want to see what I'm working on and go out and get what I put out there in the next couple of years. And thanks for watching. Talk soon.